Hey there, Wicked Title folk. I am Cheryl Evans with the Wicked Title Forum, and I'm here today with Mike Simon from Agent Brief. Mike, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. I'd love to hear a little bit about just, who you are and how you got into title.
Uh, well, if you ask my dad, he introduced me to title. I think I was 17, and he suggested I spend the summer doing title closings um, instead of being a lifeguard. So that was my first introduction to it. And I have to say that I wasn't that excited about being in title. Being a lifeguard was far, far more interesting for my summer. And it's funny, when I launched Agent Brief, a couple of years ago, my father takes full credit for it. So that's how I got into title.
Was your father already in title?
My dad's a real estate attorney on Long
Okay.
Island, and he did a lot of closing work for all the major title companies. So it was just an interesting time. Long Island real estate was booming. My father was just doing 20 closings a day, sometimes three or four at a time. He was a
Wow.
legend on Long Island at the time, and yeah, it was just it was a place that he thought would be a good career move for me. I took a different path, but he was in it for a very long time. Yes.
Oh, that's great. I always love hearing how people get into the industry because it seems you're either born in it or you end up there by accident.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I don't really, when we show you the app, I will tell you my father does not understand exactly what it is that I do, because he looks at title as a transaction. I
Yeah.
look at it as something very, very different. So yes, my path here, and it probably took me 30 years to get back from that one summer to here where I am today. So it was a long road.
Yeah, yeah. How do you look at title differently?
So our view on title was to help title reps do their job better.
Yeah,
And the part of the world that we kind of focus on is data. Data in the title industry, in residential real estate in general. Number one is kind of tough to grab onto, and most people don't really understand what it is that they're looking at. And I think the thing that really kind of struck me was that there's so much data out there, but what was happening was data was just being dumped in your lap, saying, here it is. You figure out what it means. You figure out what's important. If you want to use it, that's great, but we're not going to really give you any tools to use it. And the worst part about data was that it was all a history lesson. What people were focusing on was, as you'll probably laugh at this, um, who did what with whom, who's cheating on me, who's involved in that transaction. And the worst part was, if I look at data and I don't see my name in lights, I did this transaction with this real estate agent, then somehow there was something wrong with the data. And essentially, it just threw me that everybody was paying attention to what has happened in the past versus how do we use data to kind of look at things on a forward-looking basis. So actionable data is kind of where we came in versus this history lesson, which is how people have been using data up until this point.
and that's a really important distinction, and I've got to totally agree with you. There are entire careers dedicated to analyzing data, and to just throw raw data at people who don't have that kind of training, yeah, it's really overwhelming. All these numbers and information, but trying to figure out what to do with it can be really hard. So,
Yeah.
you know, how did you solve that problem? Tell
Uh,
me, what is Agent Brief, giving us as far as, how to look at that data in a way that's meaningful?
well, I'm gonna put the data aside for a second, and I'm gonna say that the probably the most important thing that we do is we focus on timing. Um, if you want to use data as a history lesson, it doesn't matter how current it is. But if
Yeah.
you want to use data to build your business, to grow your business, then the time sensitivity of it is mission critical. So really the first thing that we focus on is making sure that if you're a user of Agent Brief, that you get notified about agent activities as they are happening in as close to real time as we can get. And that really is what gives title reps a competitive advantage is, okay, it doesn't matter that a particular real estate agent does business with 1 or 20 different title companies. What matters to a title rep, title agent, is, can I find out about that opportunity before anybody else? And then put myself in a position where I can reach out to that agent and develop a relationship. And you probably know this. Hopefully, your users know this, followers know this. Is that, in our industry, relationships matter,
Yes.
and the key to selling anything. I don't care what part of the residential real estate transaction you are in, but the key to selling anything is developing a relationship with the real estate agent first. So the goal of Agent Brief was really to use data to notify you in as close to real time as possible when an agent has a transactional event that is a trigger for you to pick up the phone, send a text, send an email, show up and say, hey, great job, agent. Good job on getting that listing. Here's how I can help you. And it's that relationship building and that timing that's really what we focused on.
And that's huge. I mean, I've spent a lot of my career in marketing and helping businesses to market. And generally the rule of thumb when you're marketing is just constant. Marketing should never, ever stop. It should be a constant thing because you want to be top of mind for that person when the moment comes for them to be ready to make that purchase. And usually you don't know when that moment is. And so you just have to market all the time and be in front of that person constantly so that you're in the right place at the right time. And to be able to cut through all of that and know, oh, this is the right time, that's huge.
I mean, it's you think about what people have done to this point in our industry. They do a lot of cold calling. They do a lot of drop bys. They do this showing up at an office. And at the end of the day, you can talk to a lot of real estate agents. The ones that spend a lot of time with you, got to, how busy are they? The ones
Right.
that aren't spending a lot of time with you, those are the ones that you want. So to get in front of them when there is a need and they didn't expect you to get in front of them, it's showing them a lot, showing them that you're paying attention. It's
Yeah.
showing that you're willing to invest the time, the resources in creating communication. And, relationships are not a moment in time. They are a long period of time that you need to nurture and go step by step by step. And people ask me all the time, how many new transactions does Agent Brief generate for me if I buy your product? And I don't mean to be snarky, but the answer is none. It's not what we do. Our job is not to sell title. That's your job. Our
Yeah.
job is to make sure that you know about the opportunity to sell title before anybody else. And
Yeah.
then, to your point, consistency matters. There is no relationship that is built on, hey, it's me, I have something to sell, buy it, let's have a relationship. That does not the way it works. It's a series of steps over time that builds trust. And then that trust is ultimately you're going to translate into a referral and a new piece of business and then a long-term relationship.
Absolutely. One of the things that I hear from business owners all the time and sales reps when talking to them about, developing relationships and getting in front of people is I don't want to be annoying. That that is one of the biggest things that hold people back
Yeah.
from, marketing their business and doing sales calls and developing those relationships is that fear of being annoying, which I get because we have all encountered that annoying salesperson that we just do not want to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to have that timely data so that you don't have to be annoying, you can be timely and helpful. I think that's also really huge to, overcome that challenge and have confidence that you are developing those relationships in a way that's meaningful.
Somebody who remained nameless used to say to me, Mike, the job is to pay attention to what real estates are doing, real estate agents are doing. Yeah, I don't care how you do it. You want to say you're stalking, following, monitoring, paying attention. I don't care what word you use, but that is the job, is monitoring real estate agent activities, because they're not just randomly picking up the phone saying, I remember I met that title rep at a cocktail party 3 weeks ago. You know that let me call them.
Yeah,
That's not how this works. You
yeah,
know, it is our job to be on top of them, not their job to be on top of us. And if
absolutely.
we do our if we do that task and do it consistently and with meaning and with purpose and having something to offer, there is a moment in time where it tips. Um, Tipping point, however you want to phrase it, is there is some point in time where that relationship you have nurtured and developed over time turns into what you're looking for, which is that solid source for referrals. But
Yeah,
it doesn't happen. We don't make sales on features and benefits and product and certain. That's not what we do. You know, we make the sale based upon the relationship. The
yeah.
sale is the byproduct of the relationship. And you know, when I say, you know, relationships rule the world, I think I stole that from somebody, but relationships do rule the world, especially in our industry. And
Yeah.
when we forget about that, you know, that's where we're really at a loss, because there is no feature, service, you know, tool that you have that is going to replace what an agent feels as it relates to trusting you, believing in you, knowing that you're in it for them. You're going to close on time. They're going to collect their commission check, all of those things that matter. But that's what the agent is looking for: features, benefits, tools, products, services, all good.
Yeah.
But it's you, the person, that matters.
Oh, absolutely. You know, back when I had my own title agency, um, there were quite a few real estate agents who religiously used their in-house title company. You know, they were receiving some sort of financial compensation or they were receiving some sort of penalty if they didn't,
Yeah.
which I got. But I developed those relationships with them, and I was their go-to person for the deals that nobody could close.
Right.
And I developed this you know moniker of the miracle worker, because they would send me these deals that their title agency said, it can't close, we can't do
Right.
this," and I
Mhm.
would get it done. And yeah, it's that there's nothing that can replace that feeling of trust that you can pick up the phone and get that person and solve that problem that you've encountered so that you can get to the closing table. And there's nothing, no amount of beautiful marketing or is going to ever overcome that relationship aspect.
And I do think you're, you know, to your point, I think the whole idea of these in-house title companies, or you have to use these other, is such a negative to the way real estate agents operate. You know,
Yeah,
they are independent contractors. That by law, they can do whatever they want. They can make any choices that they want.
yeah,
And this is a little heresy, I get, you know, because you know that's not what, you know, these joint ventures are all about. And you want to think you have a captive audience. But at the end of the day, real estate agents have a different responsibility. They have a responsibility to their customer, and they have
yes,
responsibility themselves to close these deals. And just because somebody has a presence or these an MSA or a joint venture, at the end of the day, real estate agents still have the ability to choose who they work with. That by
yeah,
nature, by law, that's what an independent contractor means. And you know, in my former life working for Realogy and the Realogy family of brands, which it's what's anywhere now, but just to know that real estate agents can be presented with lots of different, you should work with this company. But at the end of the day, real estate agent still has the ability to choose. And what's going to make them choose is what you just said, you know, is yeah, I may have to do this, but I know over here, Cheryl's going to take care of me and
yeah,
make sure that this transaction goes smoothly and it closes on time, because we have a relationship, we have a working relationship that ultimately I know no matter what goes wrong, this person's got my back. And I think that's invaluable.
absolutely.
It's invaluable.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of times I've encountered, loan officers, real estate agents, attorneys who are religiously using a title agency that they hate. They hate the agency as a whole, but they
Yeah,
keep going back because there's one person there. And the second that person leaves, they're
yeah,
gone.
That's
They're
it.
gone. And it is all about those relationships.
That is the commodity in our industry is people.
Yes.
You have a lot of transactions you can be associated with the brand, but if you really boils down to it, it is the person above all else. And a real estate agent working for Coldwell Banker, that brand, their personal brand, is more important than the brand that they work for, especially
Absolutely.
seasoned agents, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They
that's why,
eventually understand how
yeah,
important that personal brand is because things change and they move brokerages. Most real estate agents do not stay with the same brokerage their entire career.
yeah, whatever brand they work with is never, that is not transportable. What's transportable is their skill, their relationships, their customer service, their personal branding. That's what's transferable. Real estate agents make moves for lots of reasons, most of them financial.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a real estate, and I go back to the multiple times that I've moved, there are lots of real estate agents who'll come that'll cross your path, but always know one in a community. There's a couple of real estate agents who've just elevated themselves above all else,
Yeah.
and that has nothing to do with where they work. It
Yeah.
only has to do with that.
Yeah. And, real estate agents themselves, all the marketing for the big brands in the world does not get them deals. They understand that it's the relationships they have with people in their community that
Mhm.
get them those buyers and sellers. And so, of course, they're going to transfer that importance of relationship over to, the other people in the transaction that they're referring business to and that they're working with.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and we can have a whole nother podcast about this, about how in our industry, and I don't, whatever part of the residential real estate transaction you're involved in, you're an agent, you're a loan officer, you're a title rep, you're a home warranty, homeowners, whatever you're in, there's so much effort that goes into the licensing and the kind of technical and the legal part of understanding the industry. But the one skill that you never get taught when you're getting your license as a real estate agent, as a title rep, as a loan, the skills you're not taught are these skills, that relationship building skill.
Yeah.
And that's not a soft skill. That's a real skill.
Yeah.
And I would put the most technically savvy title rep and the most relationship driven title rep side by side. I'm going with that relationship driven person every time, because
Yeah.
what you know and the technical aspects of a transaction, okay, I'm not saying it's unimportant, but at the end of the day, in order to have a business, real estate agents know this, title reps know this, loan officers know this. It's how I interact with people. What is my skill set in opening up a door, creating a dialogue, getting you to trust me? That's going to be my secret sauce to longevity. It's
Yeah.
not my technical skills. And I'll ask the question in your demos all the time. What's the one skill that you have above all else that makes you successful? And people want to give you the most intellectual answer. And it's not intellectual. I don't
No.
care about all the different components of the real estate transaction. I mean, I do, but really what I want to know is, can you pick up the phone? Can you engage with somebody? Can you do it on a consistent basis? That is the number one skill, your ability to build relationships
Yeah.
that will serve you over the long haul. And that's really what you're after.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting to you draw that distinction between those technical skills and the relationship skills. And the both are critical to having a successful title agency. And I've found a lot of times you don't find all those skills in one person.
Oh,
And I think it's really important for title agencies to kind of assess and recognize, do
mhm.
they have that relationship people person, in the mix? And that's why a lot of agencies do have dedicated title reps and
Right.
separate people who are doing the processing and the closing because they're different skill sets. And if you've got both of them in one person, fantastic. But a
Right.
lot of
But
times you don't.
right, and it's true with that. It's really true with Amy. I mean, I look at my business. I mean, this was my idea. I didn't build this thing.
Right.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
full
you're not the
transparency,
developer, you're not the coder.
not that guy. And
Yeah.
and on the converse, one of my co-founders who can basically, if you give him a toaster, he'll build you a Tesla. You know, that's the guy. You know, I needed him. And when, but conversely, put him in front of somebody to sell the product, he's not doing very well. So
Yeah.
everybody's. It's something you should limit yourself. But if you're building a business, you have to understand there is a certain skill set here. And I think over time, and you and your viewers probably know this far better than I do. The industry has changed so much. Where it used to be, if you were in a locale and if you had reputation and if you had been there a long period of time, there's just kind of this default business that comes your way. But
Yeah.
now all of a sudden, wow, things are competitive.
Yeah.
There's lots more choices. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of tools that are out there. There's lots of ways to disintermediate the service providers that we work with. And now all of a sudden you see this incredible shift. It wasn't about me being there for a long period of time or me having reputation or the fact that our company has been in this community for 30 years. It
Yeah.
became competitive like overnight. And I think it
Yeah.
surprised a lot of people that, wow, I've got to do something different because I can't just rely on my referral sources.
Right.
Agents age out. There's a new generation coming in. They have
Yeah.
different interests and different needs. How do you find them? How do you talk to them? That's where data came in, but more importantly, where business intelligence came in. And there's a difference. Your data is just facts and figures. Business intelligence is how you use those facts and figures to create opportunity. And I think that's where we saw this incredible shift where people were going from, well, we've been the number one player in our market for so long, but now all of a sudden there's competition. And now all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
struggling and we have to figure out new ways to uncover opportunities. We can't rely on the same old, same old. So what's out there to do that? Well, data number one, but also trying to find tools and create tools that put that data to work. And that's kind of where we came.
Mike, let me just say, I am so blown away seeing this. I talked to you before and you told me about Agent Brief, but actually seeing it, that is just so incredible. I wish this existed when I had my title agency because, that would have been just so powerful. I'm so impressed, and that is so easy to use. I mean, I feel like I could just go in and start using it right now. I wouldn't need any training. Like those few minutes of just seeing you demo it was enough to know exactly what to do with it. I'm super impressed.
Thank you. And that is the thing, there is no learning curve here.
Yeah.
I just showed you how to use Agent Brief. That's it. And I guess just to add to what you're saying, you could start your title company tomorrow. I would support you. You should do it. The thing about Agent Brief that makes users successful is really one trait. It's consistency. Okay. Following agents, great. Getting alerts about agents, great. Okay. If you don't engage on a consistent basis, there's nothing, there's no data platform, there's no tool, there's nothing out there that is going to put you in a position to be successful. But if you consistently pay attention to alerts, you're not going to respond to everything. But if you respond 30% of the time, you're going to be talking to a lot more agents. And the more agents you talk to, the more opportunities you're going to find. There is no replacement for that.
Yeah.
And that simplicity is what we leverage. And I will put two users side by side. And one will say Agent Brief is great, and one will say Agent Brief is not working for them. And there's only one factor that I look for when it comes to success or failure. If we're sending you alerts and you're not responding to them, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Data isn't going to do you any good if you're not going to take action on it.
that's it. And doing it on a consistent basis, nothing happens once.
Right.
What's the normal touch points? 8 to 12 touch points to create a relationship with the
They're
new.
actually saying it may be as high as 27 now because we are so inundated with ads and things like that in every aspect of our lives. They think it may have gone up that high. So yeah, consistency, and that's a really great message too for anybody who's thinking about using this tool. You can't reach out to an agent just once and be like, oh, well, they never responded and they're not going to do business. No, you got to keep doing it, because it only takes that one time that you get in front of them on that one day, where the day before the title company they were using totally messed up a deal and dropped the ball in a big way, and now they're shopping, and you just got in front of them at that right moment, and boom,
Mhm.
you've got yourself a new client. But it takes that repetition, and if they've never heard from you before, then that moment may just pass by. But if they've been communicating with you for months, and now that moment happens and you're right there in front of them again, you're going to get that.
We are in the immediate gratification society, but
Mhm.
we are not in an immediate gratification business, right?
Yes.
There's a big difference. We all want, hey, I reached out to you, buy my product. That's instant gratification. That's really what's been created with the advent of social media and technologies. Everybody wants everything yesterday.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, the one part of the real estate industry that I hope never changes is that it's a relationship business. And that is the thing that people have to remember, that no amount of tech is going to replace this,
Yeah.
this direction.
Absolutely. You have to use the tech to leverage that relationship. It can't replace it.
Yeah. There's another thing that kind of comes to mind about sensitivity to for title lips. You're constantly being bombarded with tech and tools and buy this and buy that, and this is the secret sauce. And stuff. The secret sauce is relationships.
Yeah.
The better you can do with relationships, the more successful you're going to be. But we're in this very strange time where the market's good, the market's bad, it's up, it's down. I've got money to spend on marketing, I don't have money to spend on marketing. One of the strategic decisions we made was loyalty. We decided that with the right partners, and we hope that you guys are one of them, that if we priced it right, that we would eliminate the shock value of buying tech or buying data, because data is very expensive.
Yeah.
And if we priced it right and we could show you kind of immediate ROI, we would create lots of loyalty amongst our users. And that's one of the things that I would say that I'm most happy with and most proud about when it comes to our app, is that we never wanted to be the most expensive. We wanted to be something that if you saw it and you saw the value, that there was going to be no price barrier.
Yeah.
That I don't care if you're an independent one-man band title company in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, with not a lot of access to the world's greatest tech, or you work for a multi-state title agency that has access to tech. Price should not be a barrier for you to jump on a product like this and be successful.
Yeah.
So pricing it where we did, with basically $99, you get in all of this. It's a complete solution. There's nothing you can buy. There's no upgrades. There's no onboarding. There's no hidden costs. If we could price it at that point, the math is pretty simple. In most markets at our price point, one transaction
Yeah.
pays for the app for the year, and your second transaction, you have now generated a profit. So
Yep.
this mindset of pricing fairly,
Yeah.
so people could jump on no matter who they were, where they were, that there was no price barrier to entry, and that with a little bit of effort, one transaction to two transaction is going to pay for it and start delivering ROI for you. That's a very, very sexy formula for success. So
Yeah.
eliminating those objections. Well, it's too expensive. It's too hard to use. The data is delayed. You gotta address all the objections before
Yeah.
you really understand our customer. And our customer was price sensitive. They wanted something that was easy to use, and they wanted something that was timely. Those are the three things that we focused on in creating the outbound message to our users. Say, don't tell me there's no price problem here, right? There's
Yep.
no ease of use problem here. There's no consistency problem. This thing is available to anybody. And to get on board, essentially, you go to the App Store, you download it, you sign up, you're on board, you're using it in 2 hours. That's that's another formula for success, is that let's not make tech such a reach that it takes onboarding and process and data entry. It takes
Yeah.
nothing. You
They
down
don't even have to do a sales call. I love that because this really shows you truly understand the title agents who are using your product. And that can be hard to find in the world of tech and title as well. And yeah, I think that price point is just spot on. You know, so often the smaller agencies are really at a disadvantage.
right.
Um, that they can't, they can't afford to compete with the big guys. And this puts them on a level playing field that they've never seen before. And I think it's really wonderful that you've been able to do that. I mean, heck, even, a title rep who can't get their company to buy in could look at their paycheck and say, this is going to make my paycheck bigger. I'm going to get more commissions and I'm going to just pay for this myself even. Yeah, I think that's really amazing. And yeah, you've overcome the tech challenge. It's not hard to use. They don't have to go through a long, quote me and sales call that's uncomfortable. They can just go and download and get started. Uh, I think it's amazing. And Mike, is there any kind of trial time that people can try it out and see for themselves?
Sure. So if you went to agentbrief.com, there's a 7-day free trial on there, and you can do that. And it's so funny that yeah, people do that, and then they sign up for it, and then within about 10 minutes, we monitor our free trials, and people sign up for the free trial, and they get on it, and they're like, wait a minute, that's it? And then we get the phone call. I forget the free trial. I don't want a demo. I get it. Can I sign up? So we do have the free trial. The thing about the free trial, it's just a cautionary tale, is that 7 days is not enough time to see results, because
Yeah,
you got to follow agents, you got to get alerts, you've got to start engaging with it. So 7 days is designed to show you how easy it is to follow agents, and that instantly, once you follow agents, you're getting alerts. Now it all comes down to how you use it. So when people do the 7-day free trial, they're doing it to see, okay, do they have data in my market? Will,
right.
if I follow, are the agents that I care about, do they show up in the data? And I encourage you, go into the app, yeah, play around with it, and just confirm that in your market, we have the data we're looking for. We
Yeah,
do, but if that's what you want to confirm, the 7-day free trial does not give you the ROI, because
right. And
ROI,
that's a really good point. Because yeah, you're not going to make a sale in those 7 days. But it's a really great way to confirm that the data you're looking for is there and confirm that it really is as easy to use as you just showed us.
absolutely.
And yeah, in 7 days you can accomplish those two goals.
And we'll provide you, and depending on how you want us to do this, we actually did create a special price, and we did create a special link for Wicked Title users. So I actually put one very important key salesperson on this, so you have access to us, my son. So he will be available to take any inquiry from Wicked Title. We want to make sure that we know the people coming in from your channel.
Fantastic.
And that is, that's just something that, we dedicated to. When we work with groups like this, we know that you guys speak to each other.
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of, and the curse sometimes of relationships like this, is that we want that viral effect. So we'll be there to give you guys kind of the pricing and the service, but essentially we want you guys to try this thing, because with such little effort, you have access to opportunity. And if we provide you anything, it's we just want to get you on board using the product fast, simply and effectively. You'll see the results so quickly if you follow the steps that we offer you. But again, anything that we can do to make it easier for your users to access it, to understand it, to get trained on it, to be supported about it, we'd love to do it because we know that that viral effect is so important. You guys talk, success breeds more success, and just love the opportunity to be working with you guys.
Well, that is fantastic, Mike. I am so excited to share this with everybody. And the links and contact information will be in the show notes and in the article. And so it'll be very easy for people to find. And Mike, I really appreciate you sharing all of this with me today. And I look forward to seeing kind of where your company goes and hearing some of the feedback from my followers as they start to check this out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Really enjoyed it.